looked at someone that you love, someone you know inside and out, and thought, what are they thinking? So from your toddler to your teenagers, and yes, we're going to throw the husband in there too. All this week we are going inside their brains. So we'll start at the top of that curiosity chain. According to my next guest, a deeper look into the psyche of your spouse can increase the devotion in your relationship. In day one of our series, Inside Their Brain, what's happening in a man's mind? Relationship contributor Dr. Matt Townsend is here, and I have to say, bravely so, because you know we're kind of an all-female staff, we're kind of a female show,
everywhere.
And here you are representing the male psyche. But I was intrigued with that idea that understanding the brain increases devotion.
Oh, yeah.
That's a deep commitment.
Well, it's easy to love somebody that you don't understand, and you don't know how they think, and you don't know how they're working. Sometimes it's harder when you start to figure out what they are thinking or what they're not thinking. Then it actually forces you to choose how you're going to love them and be more intentional in the relationship.
It becomes a choice.
It's way cool.
Does this make you nervous?
Yes, and I think I'm supposed to explain what men are thinking. And I honestly, when I was looking, I was trying to figure out what's the perfect metaphor for why men don't like to share what they're thinking.
Yeah, because you're pretty like hold in.
We're terrified.
Okay.
Well, and I'll show you why.
This is a clip.
But this is a clip from the BBC about kind of a funny look at why men don't like to share what they're thinking.
All right, let's watch.
A man has ruined a weekend away with his girlfriend by saying what he was thinking. Our reporter Emma Bradford is at the scene.
Martin Bishop and Eleanor Shaw had stopped at a cosy country pub after a romantic walk when Miss Shaw looked up meaningfully at Bishop and asked what he was thinking at that very moment. The weekend was about to go very wrong indeed.
I was hoping he would say, maybe this would be a great place to bring the kids one day. Or even something corny but sweet, like, I have everything I'll ever need right here.
And what did you say, Martin?
I said, pigs are much bigger than you expect.
Okay, that's good.
Totally real. And
one of the pigs so big you could ride him. He continued. He didn't stop there.
No, he kept going. But she was so, like, devastated. Like, I thought it would be about us and our family, but it's about the pigs.
This is supposed to be a moment, not about the swine.
That's where our heads go.
Okay, so that's the fear.
It's very complicated. And our fear is that we don't think the way you want us to think. So Marty would always say, a penny for your thought. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to cost a lot more than that. Because I'm not giving up this stuff.
I'm not cracking it open.
It's a scary thing. Because in a weird way, and men, I don't know that men judge your thoughts. I mean, here's what usually happens. Men think women overthink, and women are thinking men underthink. But I want you to know we're thinking, you just aren't going to like what we're thinking.
Okay.
It's scary to you.
Okay, here we go. Brace yourselves. Thought number one, men, you kind of touched on this. You're afraid.
We're really afraid.
To tell us what we're thinking. Thought number two, men often feel like a deer in the headlights.
Because we're confused. Because you say you want to know what we're thinking, and then I tell you, okay, so we're driving down the freeway at 80 miles an hour, and in my head I'm thinking, if I jump the family van off the bridge, would I clear the river and could I land it? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And the minute I tell you that, you're like, you think I'm nuts. Like, you're going to kill us? And I'm like, no, I was just thinking
that was just a
how we would jump it.
Sure.
And it bugs you. But we also we get judged for our thoughts being too, they're too naughty. So if I tell you what I'm really thinking and you're like, oh, is that all you think about? And if I'm thinking about intimacy or something, you're like, oh, my word. Or it's too mundane. It's too superficial if I'm not thinking deep enough for you. So we tend to get our thoughts judged a lot. And it confuses us. And then we're confused, too, because you say you want more time with us, but then when we're with you, you're always on Instagram. You say you want more dates with us, but the minute we go out on a date, you're always inviting all your friends and their spouses. You say you want things with us, and then doesn't appear to be what you really want.
It's not literal.
No, not literal.
Mark and I have this running joke because he loves to golf. Oftentimes goes with my dad, his dad, members of his family.
Sport. That's the sport they play there.
Yes. But after 4 hours in a cart together, cruising around a beautiful scenic course, he always comes home and I'm like, "What'd you talk about?" And he's like, "Nothing."
No.
There was no conversation to report.
Goal. Talking and conversations aren't usually the goal for the man. The man's goal was golf. And the sideline and the benefit is just the talk. But the talk is generally not our goal.
So more focused and more literal.
Yeah.
You also say, and this surprised me, because we
Yeah.
think of men as kind of ego-driven.
Yeah.
In some cases,
No,
not
totally.
all cases.
Yeah.
I realize that's kind of a stereotypical statement, but you say men have more self-doubt than
Oh,
we
yeah.
would realize.
Yeah, and so a lot of our thinking is we're doing what we can. We want to get better. And a lot of times we don't know how to get better. And one reason is because we don't get the feedback we need, because we don't usually seek feedback about how we could be better, usually.
Right,
And I'll
right.
explain that. But one of the things we are thinking about is how to improve. We hear your complaints and we want to be better for you, but again, we're confused as to what we're actually supposed to do. Because when we do one thing, it doesn't seem to get the impact for you. I mean, it might once, but it doesn't usually get it twice for you. So, but we do want to improve, and then we actually seriously have doubt if we can do it. So I think a lot of men end up just giving up. And then their thought is, I can't do it. I'm just going to take on the idea that I'm just kind of a man that doesn't get it. And then I'll just play that role. I just don't get women.
In the sake of conversation, like I can't contribute to this dialogue, so I'm just going to
I'm just going to back off. Or I can't be the husband you necessarily want. So a lot of men, I think, get depressed, for example, and they don't even know they're depressed. But they are thinking in their head a lot of ruminating and depressive thoughts, but they don't have anyone necessarily they can go to. But they do want to be better. So don't ever think that a man's not thinking about being better. Sometimes that's all he's thinking about. He just doesn't maybe know where to begin.
How do we push past that?
Well, some of it is we've got to find a way to make it safe. And one of the next points is that the fact that men tend to prioritize hierarchy in our brains over relationship or bonding. So men, think about it, are supposed to kind of be the protector. We're supposed to be the provider that provides. We're supposed to be, the one that's the leader. And leaders have a hierarchical need.
Yes.
You've got to be the dominant one. So a lot of times when men are thinking, they're wondering, why am I losing so much ground with the people around me? Why does she keep telling me what I'm doing wrong instead of not telling me what I'm doing right? Everyone at work is telling me how great I am, but my wife keeps correcting me and lowering me. So I'm thinking hierarchy, but the wife's thinking, are we good? I'm just giving you this feedback so we can be closer. But so in his head, he's constantly wondering if he just lost ground in that conversation. Did I just gain ground? What just happened there? Why is my kid that's 15 telling me what to do? And my head goes there, and I'm trying to understand, how come I'm losing so much ground?
That makes me sad and discouraged
huge.
just hearing that perspective. So how do you meet the relationship with the hierarchy need?
Part of it is understanding that men have a hierarchy need. And I don't know that we want it, but I think it's implicit in kind of the male today. Implicit in the female is that they're nurturing and bonding, so they're always looking at the relationship. But so when she sees the husband's being too hard on the child, she's going to give feedback so she can protect the child and nurture the child. The minute she gives feedback that he's not parenting well, he's lowered in hierarchy. So we've got to find a safer way for us to talk about it, and for the guys to let the women know that I'm having this hierarchy battle, and for the women not to just assume they're just cocky and arrogant and men.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We're out of time, but I have to tee up this next topic because you so gracefully skimmed over it. Tell us where intimacy falls in this thought pattern.
So men think about it a lot, and we think about it a lot, and women think we think about it because we're just perverts. But we're not just perverted. What it is men actually feel incredibly loved when they're physically intimate. And part it's because of chemistry. We get a big dose of chemistry. It's the same chemistry moms feel when they're breastfeeding their baby. And that's why moms want to do it forever. It may not be ideal, but they want that bonding forever.
Yeah.
When men are intimate with their wives, they feel that love and connection, and it's real and it's tangible. So then all of a sudden they're thinking, I want more love. And you just think we're perverted, but in our heads, all we want to be is have more of that chemically attached connection to you. And I don't know that there's an equivalent of it always for women with men.
There's not we can't relate here.
We say it's communication. If husbands would just talk, it would be better. But what I found is many times it's not.
It's not the same.
Because we don't talk at the right time, in the right way, in the right moment, saying the right thing. So it kind of messes up her chemistry maybe. But in intimacy, there's a real physical chemical.
I actually appreciate that point that there isn't a metaphor. We do try to draw what is that like, how can I understand it? Maybe we can't, is your point.
It may not be equal.
You did it.
Did
and
it.
you did it very
Got
well.
through
We
it.
were inside the male
Yeah.
brain these last few minutes, so thank you so much. You've
Thanks,
got
Brooke.
an event coming up.
Coming up, you're not going to want to miss it. If you go to MattTownsend.com, August 18th, a whole workshop on communication where we teach you how to communicate with the opposite sex. We teach you how to understand each other, how to get real. But go to MattTownsend.com and hurry because we have it at my office, so seating's limited.
Yeah, and those seats will fly. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Brooklyn.
Great stuff.